So, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the interrogation, I guess. Um, the interrogation was a weird situation. I was scared because there were all of these things happening around me, and I had no idea why. I was being followed to work every day, and I, oh God, when I went to Mayfire to visit my friends, and it's a spiritual event out in the desert that we do um, with the Vegas Vortex. Um, anyway, I could tell that there were people watching me there. Mayfire 2016. There was a pattern going on at that point that anytime I showed up at a new place, um, about 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes after I arrived, a helicopter would go overhead. It was really predictable pattern that I noticed in 2016. Um, and so I was noticing all this going on, and then something happened after I posted a blog post about why I think that we should legalize and regulate prostitution. And I guess that now I understand that human trafficking is a big moneymaker for the ultra rich. And so I understand now that the the powers that be didn't like my protesting, and um but I didn't understand what was going on then. um I anyway, I could tell though that that particular blog post caused a big stir, and I was pretty sure that Putin talked to President Obama about me at the G20 summit at Hangzhou, China. I think it was September, early September, September 5th, maybe, 2016. And that freaked me out. And then I got a text message from someone who described themselves as working for a company where imprecise words are used. And that was my first introduction to the code. And that code is in the newspapers. Um, anyway, so I freaked out about that, and I contacted someone who was a Pentagon official, and I was freaking out. And so, anyway, I told him that I thought I had dumbassed myself into the middle of a war. And, uh, we texted back and forth a few times. until the day that it was September 11th, 2016. And it was really early in the morning. I was working as a baker at the time at a college, and so I needed to be at work at 5 a.m. to make the muffins every morning. And so it was about 3 a.m. And the whole world was just kind of caving in on me, feeling like Putin had talked to Obama about me, and the fact that I was being followed and just everything. It scared me so much, and I started dry heaving, and there was nothing in my stomach because I'd just woken up. And I guess that sometimes when you dry heave, your esophagus splits, and you can throw up a little blood, and I did, and it wasn't a lot of blood, but it was enough to scare me, and I called 911, and of course I was babbling in the ambulance about the Pentagon and the Russians, and they're like, okay, we're gonna get you a psych evaluation. And things seemed pretty normal at first. With them telling me that they were gonna give me a psych evaluation and stuff. And then everything kind of went quiet. And I noticed that there was a guard outside my hospital room. And somebody came in, a nurse came in, and she talked to me, asked me a question about what I had been talking about with the Russians and the Pentagon, and I told her a little bit. And then I heard her, or I heard another nurse or doctor or secretary, or I don't know, somebody out there say to her, we're not supposed to talk to her about that stuff. And then nobody came into my hospital room for hours. And during that time, I sent more messages to the Pentagon official, so he knew that I was in the hospital at that time. And but the CIA would have known anyway, or the FBI would have, because they had been monitoring me and everything anyway. So they knew exactly where I was. And the psych evaluation, was not a psych evaluation. It was an interrogation. Or something. It really wasn't a real interrogation, because he totally knew. She, transgender Travis, is she totally knew that she wasn't playing by the rules. And so anyway, I fell in love with her the minute that she walked into the room. I mean, she was presenting as cis male at the time, so him, at and just red hair and gorgeous eyes and this quirky, smirky smile, and yeah, just young and attractive, and kind of that moment that you know that you're meeting your destiny, you know? And uh, they wrote to me through the paper later, that they that he had noticed that when he walked into the room that I kind of sat up straighter and and I don't know. He he knew that it was kind of a love at first sight thing, and asked me some questions, and I started to show him one of the articles I had been reading from the Washington Post that I felt had some information hidden between the lines about me. And I had been used to people telling me that I was imagining things in the newspaper, and so I took it from the stance that I was trying to defend myself as because I was afraid that he was going to think that I was crazy, but he didn't act like that at all. He did ask me if I felt hot, which, like, right about that time, it was like, yeah, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. And I was literally overheating, and of course it was the scopolamine that they had just given me starting to kick in. And so I was all embarrassed and stuff. I had I pulled the blanket, the hospital blanket off of my legs, but I was still trying to kind of cover myself up a little bit because I was just wearing this hospital gown, and there was this attractive man in front of me, and of all things that I happened to be wearing that day, I've got a thing for socks. I'm very picky about my socks. I do not like most socks, and I pretty much only wear like knee highs, like trouser socks if I have to. Um, and on this particular day, I was wearing these kind of old-fashioned knit thigh-high stockings, and like thick knit, like wool socks, but they were they were sexy, but they were old-fashioned at the same time. And the top couple inches had this diamond cutout pattern, which Travis mentioned in a poem that he wrote for me. She wrote for me. Anyway, so anyway, Yeah, obviously I'm not doing well with the whole not touching my face thing, but I almost never go out and I wear a mask when I do. So, and that stops me from touching my face while I'm in the store. So, anyway, uh, aside over. Um, anyway, so, the scopolamine was kicking in, and it wasn't long before I was starting to lose my ability to concentrate. And Travis asked me first if I was having trouble concentrating, and I was like, no. And I kept trying to explain my point about the newspaper article and stuff, and then finally it was like, yeah, I can't concentrate. And Travis asked me if I had any pain, and I kind of blurted out, because I have no filter whatsoever. I blurted out that I was having discomfort from the catheter that they had inserted earlier. And he gave me this, the look down, the look up and down. Um, and he got that smile that he does. I mean, he and I both kind of do the same thing. We smile on one corner of our mouth, but it's like a mirror image. He does the left side, and I smile on the right, which I think this is a mirror image video. Anyway, so I don't know. I kind of melted at that point because I was really attracted to him, and I could tell that he was attracted to me too. And um anyway, he said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Uh I really wish I could. And then he stepped out of the room, and I didn't entirely pass out, but I mean, it was like passing out, but I guess that when you're under scopolamine, you don't remember anything afterward, but but you interact with people. Um it's like being hypnotized. Um like I think that scopolamine was the old magician's trick for doing hypnosis stage shows back in the day. But they don't do that anymore because, it's not exactly safe to give people drugs for no reason. So yeah, they wouldn't do shows like that anymore. Um, but anyway, so yeah, scopolamine, and I kind of had this feeling where I was losing. I wasn't really falling asleep, but kind of staring off into space. And then my head kind of lolled to the side. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I actually have a deja vu of that happening again. And I think that was my head lolling to the side, happening again. And I think that I started to wake up in the middle, and they gave me another dose of scopolamine. Um, anyway, So this is a 20-minute video, and I'm going to do the second half of this interrogation in another video.